Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of King David's Knowledge. Today we'll be discussing about the Bible and all its content with the creation of the cosmos and of the earth in the book of Genesis until up to the end with the sacrifice of Christ on the cross and the book of Revelation of things to come. Now let's begin. And always remember to hit that subscribe button. The book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning, and that was the first day. Next, God separated the waters, and he said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let the dry ground appear," and it was so. Then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kind." Now that God saw the land was good, he said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky." Then he also created the great creatures of the sea, and every living thing with which the water teems and that moves about in it, according to their kinds. Then he said, "Let the land produce living creatures, according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, the wild animals, each according to its kind." And it was so. Then he said, "Let us make mankind in our image and in our likeness, so they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds of the sky, and over the livestock and the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." And so he did, mankind in his own image. He created them male and female, which is known to us as Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And they were tempted with the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and led up to their mistake by listening to the serpent and eating the fruits of its knowledge, and then later kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Genesis chapter 6. And it came to pass when man began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children with them, the same became mighty men which were old and men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it grieved the Lord that he made man on this earth. And the Lord said, "I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for repentant me that I have made them." And from the 7 generations from Adam down to Noah, God warned Noah that there would be a mighty flood that would come. And it took Noah 120 years before he finished the ark. So 40 days and for 40 nights it rained upon the earth, until finally the ark and Noah sent out birds, including a dove, to find out that finally the water started to recede. And then the ark stood upon a mountain and allowed them to finally be free and get out of the ark, including the animals. Now, when the water started to recede, Noah and his 3 sons, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, started to repopulate the earth and started to spread out all the way down to Nimrod and the Tower of Babel. Nimrod was a mighty man upon the earth until he rebelled against God and tried to build his tower that reached the heavens. And God was not pleased. And he looked in upon man and saw that they were trying to defy God and his laws. And he chopped down the Tower of Babel. And he made sure that all the people could not understand each other's languages, would allow them to separate all upon the earth. So now that we discussed in our previous video, again, Abraham left Ur and went to Canaan to fight against the giants, which God told him that that'll be your new land. And from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, all the way down to Moses, and freeing his people from the bondage of Egypt. But again, during all that time, between Abraham down to Moses and down to King David, they were continuing to fight those giants of ancient times. From King David down to Solomon and the building of the first temple of Israel, then it led down to the destruction by Babylon and Daniel in the lion's den. From there was a Persian conquest that freed Israel from Babylon and allowed them to go back and build the temple, all the way down to the martyring of Christians and Christ on the cross. He was known as the King of the Jews when they made fun of him and sacrificed himself on the cross for all of us and our sins that they talk about today. Last is the book of Revelation and all the things that have come, including the 4 horsemen, now including wars, famines, calamities, catastrophes, floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Here we go again. Please get away from the water. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this edition of King David's Knowledge.